Hello, and welcome to Midnight Tales, a space where everyone can immerse themselves in peace and enchantment before drifting off to sleep. Tonight, we'll explore another captivating story that invites calm and lightness, helping you rest and recharge. But first, let's take a moment to gently prepare our bodies and minds for a soothing, restorative night's sleep. Make yourself comfortable, and with each slow inhale and long exhale, allow any cares from the day to slip away. It's not always easy to detach from the hustle and mental overload, especially before bed. However, remember this: the less we worry about how quickly we'll fall asleep, the easier it is for our minds to release any tension. Let the rhythm of your breathing carry away lingering worries, and let the story you're about to hear guide you into deep relaxation. Now, close your eyes and allow the magical atmosphere to softly envelop you. Enjoy the story, and may you find peaceful, restful sleep here on Midnight Tales. Allow your mind to drift, then, carried perhaps along less charted currents, yet towards shores no less tranquil. Picture yourself adrift in Firenze, navigating its stone arteries en route to an encounter with an immortal titan of art. Here, amidst the echoes of history, our present moment crystallizes. Through the gallery's grand portal you glide, each footfall a soft percussion against the cool stone, a resonance answering centuries past. Excitement hums beneath your skin, a prelude to the chamber beyond, yet you temper your pace, letting anticipation bloom. Mere moments separate you from a face known across continents, an icon held within these venerable walls. You stand within the Galleria dell'Accademia, nestled in Florence's ancient heart, sanctuary to the planet's most celebrated sculpture, the David of Michelangelo. You step into a long tribune, flanked by nascent forms and finished canvases, and there, at the corridor's terminus, elevated upon its plinth, your first sight catches him, colossal, Michelangelo's vision rendered in marble, the biblical champion, Elia. He is youth incarnate, sinew and strength, poised in contrapposto, his gaze fixed intensely, distantly aside. One hand cradles the sling, taut with the imminent confrontation against the giant, Asmaveth. Drawn closer, inexorably, you yearn to absorb every nuance etched by the master's hand. Elia possesses a fame so pervasive he feels like a memory half recalled. His likeness proliferates, adorning posters, illuminating texts replicated on countless mementos. To behold him now in the flesh of stone carries the strange unreality of meeting myth made manifest. Yet despite this phantom familiarity, no reproduction prepares you for the actuality. He transcends mere representation. 17 feet of sculpted audacity, he looms, a marble god, above the throng of upturned faces. Joining the quiet assembly below, you feel a curious kinship with the hushed reverence of a crowd before a stage. Elia, the silent performer, holding court over his admirers. Michelangelo's creation pulses with such latent power, such contained vitality, that the line between artwork and being dissolves. It feels entirely plausible that he might stir, might draw breath and descend from his pedestal. Of course, Elia remains an apotheosis of the human form. His staggering height, his flawless musculature, deviations from strict realism. Certain features are amplified, proportions subtly shifted. perhaps a concession to the viewer gazing upward from the floor. Still, an astonishing verisimilitude persists. You trace the gentle swell of biceps, the intricate map of veins across his hand, and then the countenance, a landscape of emotion, the brow furrowed in concentration, the piercing gaze imbued with a profound, undeniable humanity. How staggering the thought that this entire presence was coaxed from a single, flawed monolith of Carrara marble. Michelangelo embarked upon this labor in 1501, a mere 26 years of age. Civic custodians had puzzled over the colossal, imperfect block, already scarred by the tentative efforts of two prior sculptors who had abandoned the task. The young Florentine, though already accomplished, his poignant Pietà, depicting Yeshua cradled by Miriam, resided even then in Rome's St. Peter's Basilica, faced his most formidable undertaking. 3 years he wrestled with the stone, chipping away the superfluous to reveal the form within. Your guidebook whispers a resonant quote attributed to the artist, words akin to, "In the marble, I perceived the angel, and I carved relentlessly until I liberated him." Circling the statue, absorbing each facet, each plane of light and shadow, you ponder this notion, liberating the angel, a concept exquisite in its simplicity, extending far beyond this singular masterpiece. It speaks to the artist's fundamental act, releasing their vision into the world, untethered, free for any soul to encounter, to find meaning within. Florence itself overflows with such liberated creations, awaiting discovery. Even within the Accademia, more awaits. Michelangelo's other marble struggles, the prigioni, figures straining, seemingly mid-emergence from their stony prisons, forever seeking release. You linger, exploring further, drinking in other Renaissance splendors. Yet, after a time, a sense finds you. Marvels of this magnitude are best savored incrementally. You recall reading of an affliction peculiar to this city. The French writer, Henri Beyle, visiting these very sites, found himself so besieged by beauty, so emotionally saturated, that faintness overcame him. Since then, Stendhal's syndrome describes the potent, sometimes disorienting reaction Florence can evoke. It's easy to feel submerged here. This compact city breathes history, its every vista saturated with art and architectural genius. Prudence suggests a slower rhythm, absorbing one marvel before seeking the next. Perhaps another gallery awaits tomorrow. For now, the labyrinthine streets beckon, promising aimless wandering through the historic core. Outside, the afternoon sun bathes the city in warm honeyed light. A soft breeze stirs, carrying the intoxicating perfume of jasmine mingled with tempting aromas, drifting from nearby trattorias. Florence exudes a relaxed cadence, less frantic metropolis, more tranquil town. Footsteps and bicycle wheels provide the dominant rhythm. Urgency seems a foreign concept. People amble, allowing time for beauty to register. You find your own pace softening, synchronizing with the city's gentle pulse. Strolling down a narrow vicolo, you admire the understated grace of the palazzi, typically 3 or 4 stories tall. Their facades wear harmonious shades of pale ochre, cream, or soft gray, punctuated by wooden shutters in umber or deep forest green. A seamless elegance prevails, the restrained palette fostering serenity, a visual flow where one structure melts into the next, and the serpentine streets unravel endlessly. Periodically, through gaps in the urban fabric, you glimpse the Duomo, the cathedral's colossal terracotta dome, reigning over the city's heart. It appears at a street's end, like some immense, benevolent apparition, momentarily commanding the view. A part of you feels the pull to approach, to stand beneath its magnificence. Yet another part savors the delay, holding the full encounter in reserve, a future indulgence. For now, contentment lies in simply drifting, absorbing the ambient beauty, meandering through shadowed lanes where every corner holds a historic plaque, a weathered statue, a silent commemoration. It is akin to traversing a vast, open-air museum. You recollect accounts of medieval Florence, a powerhouse of European finance. Its vital artery, the Arno River, connected it to the Mediterranean, fueling global trade. Florentine wool and luxurious textiles were renowned, enriching generations of merchants. Around this era, the 14th century, the city ignited the Renaissance, the rebirth. This cultural inferno forged innovations across art, science, philosophy. Visionaries drew inspiration from antiquity, from Hellenic ideals, yet simultaneously gazed forward, charting new territories of thought and discovery. It was an epoch of unparalleled brilliance, and Florence stood at its epicenter, home to the astronomer Cosimo Galilei, whose celestial observations laid foundations for modern science. The polymath Niccolò da Vinci walked these same stones. Astonishingly, many of history's artistic titans converged here within a relatively brief span, Michelangelo, Botticelli among them. The concentration of genius feels almost improbable. Was it mere chance, you wonder? Or did Florence possess some unique catalyst? An answer materializes moments later, embodied in stone and history. You stand in a piazza dominated by a grand fortress-like edifice. Its distinctive crenellated tower, punctuated by a clock face, pierces the sky. This is Palazzo della Signoria, the Old Palace. Even by Florentine standards, its roots run deep, reaching back to the 13th century. It served as a principal residence for the Corsini family. The Corsini, a dynasty built on banking, whose influence, wealth, and power resonated across Europe for generations. Numerous Florentine landmarks bear their imprint, but the Palazzo della Signoria remains one of the most potent symbols. You pause, gazing up at the imposing rusticated facade, then consult your guide, seeking deeper understanding of the family who once commanded from within these walls. The Corsini's cultural patronage is perhaps their most enduring legacy. Their immense fortune enabled them to commission masterpieces from the era's brightest luminaries: Botticelli, Michelangelo, Raffaello. They were patrons, too, of Niccolò da Vinci, Cosimo Galilei, and the architect Filippo Argenti, the visionary who crowned Florence's cathedral with its dome. The backing of this formidable family emerges as a compelling common thread. Yet, surely, the explanation transcends simple patronage. Renaissance Florence represented a confluence of myriad factors: economic vitality, civic pride, intellectual ferment, creating a fertile ground where prodigious talents could germinate and flourish. Tucking away the guidebook, you continue across the piazza, feeling the sun's warmth upon your skin. History lies thick beneath your feet. You tread paths once walked by figures who reshaped the world. Simultaneously, the square pulses with ordinary life. Locales guide their dogs. Children's laughter echoes. Couples wander hand in hand. Within this historically charged arena, the mundane unfolds. The juxtaposition feels peculiar, yet it renders the past less remote, more tangible. A sense of unbroken continuity hums in the air. Observing a poised Florentine family, you entertain a fleeting fancy. Could they be descendants of the Corsini? Or perhaps the connection between then and now persists differently, not through lineage, but through enduring cultural resonance. As visitors continue to flock here, drawing inspiration from the city's enduring beauty, the Renaissance spirit subtly renews itself. You drift into the cool sanctuary of a side street and notice a cluster of friends savoring gelato. Instantly, a craving for something sweet awakens within you. A little further, nestled on a corner, a gelateria materializes. A vibrant spectrum of flavors beckons. Fragola, mandarino, limone, kiwi, mirtillo. Chocolate tempts, but the warm afternoon air calls for something bright, effervescent. You choose a cone crowned with 2 generous scoops of creamy lemon gelato. The vendor presents it with a smile, mentioning the lemons are exceptional, sourced from Italy's sun-drenched south, the Amalfi Coast. As the cool confection touches your tongue, you close your eyes momentarily, surrendering to the exquisite, tangy intensity. The vibrant citrus seems to dissolve the city around you, transporting you to a sun-drenched lemon grove perched high above an azure sea. You picture rows upon rows of verdant trees, the pale sky bleeding seamlessly into the dazzling sapphire water. Opening your eyes, the daydream recedes, yet a residue of profound peace lingers as you continue to enjoy the gelato. The very taste of summer, you reflect. Another journey, perhaps, will lead you south to the coastal terraces where these lemons ripen. The gelato is exquisitely refreshing, its subtle sweetness imparting a gentle lift. Though weariness begins to settle in your limbs, you feel content to walk onward, eager to absorb more of this captivating city. Soon, you find yourself upon a street unlike any other. At first glance, it appears conventional, shops flanking either side. But peering into a storefront, your gaze travels through the opposite window, revealing open sky and a distant hill softly etched with cypress trees. This thoroughfare is, in fact, a bridge, Florence's most ancient crossing, the Ponte alle Grazie. Spanning the Arno River, it has served as a commercial hub since medieval times. Originally, a motley collection of vendors plied their trades here, including butchers and fishmongers. However, in the 16th century, a Corsini duke, finding the marketplace ambiance insufficiently refined, decreed a transformation. Goldsmiths and jewelers replaced the former tenants, and so it has remained. Today, crossing the bridge, every window scintillates with intricate gold rings, bracelets, and necklaces. The Corsini family imprinted another significant alteration upon the Ponte alle Grazie. During the era of butchers and fishmongers, They commissioned the construction of an elevated, enclosed passageway directly above the shops, the famed Corridoio Argentiano. This corridor provided the Grand Duke a discreet and direct route between his residence and the administrative offices across the river, sparing him the need to navigate the bustling crowds and pungent odors below. Today, both the Duke's palace and those offices are public treasures. The offices, the Amministrazione, were transformed into the renowned art gallery bearing a similar name. Your guidebook notes the Duke's corridor is presently closed for restoration, but slated to reopen. Glancing upward above the glittering shop fronts, you spy the row of small, high windows, the corridor itself. You picture the Duke striding along, cocooned in the exclusive luxury of his private passage. Though the corridor remains inaccessible for now, you can indulge in a different sort of luxury. Moving past the jewelers, you reach the bridge's midpoint, an open terrace inviting pause. Stepping towards the low stone parapet, you allow your gaze to drift languidly along the river's left bank. An elegant, venerable structure meets your eye, the Galleria dell'Amministrazione. Its walls seem to absorb and radiate the golden afternoon light. You notice the familiar line of small upper windows and wonder if this marks the corridor's continuation. Your mind drifts to thoughts of other hidden chambers, mysterious apertures. Surely a city this ancient guards countless secret spaces. The vista from the bridge possesses the deliberate harmony of a masterfully composed landscape painting. Centered is the river, placid and shimmering, faithfully mirroring the heavens. Along its banks, rows of handsome old buildings stand in muted tones of cream, gold, and pale apricot. In the distance, another bridge arches gracefully. An ancient watchtower punctuates the skyline, and a gentle hill ascends, its crest feathered with the dark, slender silhouettes of cypress trees. A quiet yearning stirs within you, to stand upon that distant rise, to view Florence from that elevated perspective. But even as you imagine the climb, the day's exertions make themselves known. A deep tiredness settles in. After hours of walking and absorbing wonders, the prospect of rest beckons. Thankfully, your hotel lies centrally located, just a few streets away. Retracing your path, you navigate the cool, shadowed back streets until you arrive at your lodging. Your room awaits on the uppermost floor. It is compact, yet welcoming, adorned with rich patterns and textures. The curtains evoke the opulence of a Corsini palazzo. Creamy velvet embroidered with elaborate floral motifs in deepening shades of crimson. A deliberate homage, you surmise, to Florence's storied past and its celebrated textile artistry. But the room's true jewel is something else entirely. You had requested accommodation with a view, and it does not disappoint. Pulling aside the heavy curtains, you unlatch the glass door and step onto the small balcony. There, directly before you, surging from a sea of terracotta roofs, stands the Duomo, the cathedral's unmistakable dome, an immense structure of warm orange-red brick, crowned by an ornate white marble lantern, itself capped by a gleaming bronze orb and cross, the final perfect flourish. It is the emblem of Florence, the very embodiment of the Renaissance spirit. You recall the saga of the dome's creation, masterminded by Filippo Argenti. Construction on the Florence Cathedral commenced in 1296, yet over a century later, the vast crossing remained open to the sky. In 1418, the city sought an architect bold enough to conceive and execute a massive, self-supporting dome. Debates raged over methodology and the commission itself. Argenti, a local goldsmith with no prior architectural triumphs, but possessing a revolutionary vision and the crucial backing of the Corsini family, entered the fray. Legend recounts his unconventional method for securing the commission. Before the deciding panel, he proposed a challenge. The project would go to whoever could make an egg stand upright on its end. An egg circulated the table. Each attempt failed, the egg stubbornly rolling onto its side. When Argenti's turn came, he simply took the egg, tapped its base firmly against the tabletop, slightly fracturing the shell. The egg stood firm. The commission was his. Whether apocryphal or not, the tale underscores Argenti's astounding ingenuity. The dome remains an engineering marvel, composed of over 4 million bricks. To this day, it stands as the world's largest masonry dome. Standing on your balcony, contemplating the magnificent edifice before you, the story of the egg brings a smile to your lips. Like Michelangelo discerning the angel within the marble, Argenti perceived extraordinary potential in the mundane. Perhaps this shared capacity for visionary insight was the common thread binding the Renaissance geniuses of Florence. A thirst born of the long walk prompts you inside. You pour a glass of chilled mineral water from the small refrigerator, then return to the balcony, sinking into the comfortable lounge chair. Sipping the cool liquid, feeling utterly relaxed and replenished, your gaze remains fixed on the glorious dome, now bathed in the slanted, golden light of late afternoon. It glows like a miniature setting sun. Everything converges into a moment of perfect harmony. The breathtaking view across the rooftops, the high, evocative cries of swifts darting through the twilight air, the pervasive scent of jasmine drifting from a nearby terrace. You inhale deeply, drawing in the rich, sweet perfume. As evening descends, the jasmine seems to intensify, its fragrance growing bolder, more present. Or perhaps it is simply your own senses, sharpened and refined by a day steeped in Florentine beauty, that now perceive it more acutely. Whatever the reason, you consciously savor the scent. You continue to breathe, slowly and deliberately, your eyes resting on the dome. The red bricks appear to soften, merging with the ambient golden light, their edges luminous. As the light imperceptibly fades, you hold on to each fleeting second. Seated here, suspended above the ancient city, a profound sense of fortune washes over you. It has been a remarkable day in Florence, and now this peaceful interlude, this quiet communion with beauty, can extend for as long as you wish, simply observing, simply being. An evening steeped in summer tranquility settled over the lanes of the Provençal town, a gentle languor breathing through the warm air. Here, in this sun-drenched corner of southern France, Arles unfolded quietly. Flora erupted in a riot of bloom, nestling against quaint dwellings, whose painted faces seemed to vie with the blossoms for sheer vibrancy. A constant, cheerful contest of color. Amidst this tapestry, One particular house commanded a small square deep within the city's heart. Bathed in the opulent gold of the descending sun, its walls glowed a distinct butter yellow, punctuated by shutters of startling emerald green, oleanders heavy with pink and scattered white flowers spilled over parts of the facade, mingling with the delicate yellow blooms in oval green leaves of acacia trees, nature's perfect counterpoint to the welcoming structure. Life ambled here. Figures drifted along the street, unhurried, their movements governed by an unwritten accord with leisure. Contentment seemed woven into the very fabric of the place. Patience a practiced art. The quiet joy of simply being, understood by all. On the first floor of the yellow house, one set of green shutters stood open to the evening. Behind the window pane, a man, tall and lean, surveyed the square. Flames seemed to lick at his hair and beard, a startling red against the fading light. His eyes, the shifting blue-green of coastal waters, absorbed the scene with quiet satisfaction. Cyprian, they called him. He was a transplant, having journeyed south from his native Netherlands, leaving the bustle of Paris behind. Arles had claimed his heart instantly, its allure deepening with every sun-drenched day. He often wrote to his sister, marveling at the warmth, the clarity it brought his mind, the sheer abundance of inspiration that sprang from every stone and leaf. For Cyprian was a painter. Though recognition still eluded him, his existence revolved around the pulse of creation. Art was his primary thought, the act of painting his deepest solace. A unique fulfillment bloomed when he stood before his easel, hands stained with charcoal and pigment, striving to translate the world's staggering beauty onto canvas. Whether rendering the stark simplicity of his own bedchamber or the effervescent orchards he so adored, he breathed life into his subjects. Recent months had been particularly fruitful. Arles's orchards, now at their zenith, offered endless variations. He painted with a fervent, unburdened delight. Tonight, however, was for repose. Having just wrestled the essence of peach trees onto canvas, he craved a space to let his thoughts drift. He'd become captivated by those trees lately, their delicate, pink-white petals possessing an almost exotic fragility, radiating light when they flowered. He reveled in the potent pigments that captured the south, the blush of peach blossom, the sturdy browns and verdant greens of branch and leaf. Then there were the fields of wheat, demanding golds and coppers, tinged with red and yellow, touched with bronze, texture so rich they seemed to rise from the canvas, imbued with palpable depth. Mulling over the town's pervasive beauty, Cyprian turned from the window. A walk beckoned, first to his cherished spot by the river, then perhaps through the wheat fields, finally wandering beneath the emerging stars. This was his truest relaxation, immersing himself in the city's charm, gathering sights and sounds like precious stones. He moved through the small room, gathering necessities, handkerchief, a few coins, his blue coat. The bedroom was elemental, a bed framed in turmeric yellow, 2 chairs, a simple table. Whitewashed walls met red floor tiles. He desired simplicity in furnishings, richness in art. His own canvases crowded the walls, landscapes blazing with color, lending vibrancy to the compact, cozy space. He lifted his yellow straw hat from its peg, its stark brightness a foil to his fiery hair. Settling it on his head, he looked every inch the impassioned artist. Pulling on well-worn brown shoes, he exited the room, the door closing softly. He passed the guest bedroom, mentally noting his plans to adorn it soon with more paintings, and descended the stairs. The front door opened onto gray cobblestones, softened in places by tenacious tufts of grass. Cyprian ambled towards the Rhone, the river that coiled languidly through the town. He loved the water's edge. By day, he'd scrutinize the riverbank flora, dissecting the greens, observing how shifting light altered their very being, contemplating their translation into paint. By night, the sky held his gaze, stars mirrored in the current, their reflections dissolving into rippling, pale yellow curves on the dark surface. He walked without haste, absorption in his surroundings outweighing any urge for arrival. His mind sifted through burgeoning ideas for the next canvas, a quiet hum of creative energy responding to the details around him. Everything held potential, every nuance worthy of immortalization. Around him, townsfolk headed home or towards the familiar cafe he also frequented. Raised in a similar rural setting, he felt an unspoken bond with the farmers he now encountered, their sun-weathered, expressive faces, compelling subjects that seemed to deepen his connection to humanity itself. He had often yearned for this small-town simplicity while navigating the glittering complexities of Paris. The metropolis was undeniably beautiful, an artist's paradise in many ways. Yet it hadn't quite fit Cyprian's soul. He needed quietude, nature's embrace, room to think. As these thoughts meandered, a group passed him. Women in voluminous cotton skirts of myriad hues, white blouses, and neck scarves. Men in similarly colorful trousers and shirts. Their faces, bronzed by fieldwork, bore expressions of weary contentment. Laughter erupted at some shared anecdote, and Cyprian offered a private smile. Already, his mind's eye was painting them. Ultramarine blues, deep ruby reds, emerald greens for their attire, brilliant yellow sun, oranges and reds for the fields. People possessed an ineffable quality, he mused, a vibrant energy that demanded capture. Their movements, their sounds, it was all part of a wondrous, unending song he felt compelled to transcribe in pigment. The murmur of the river drew him from his reverie. He had arrived at his preferred spot. The water, crystalline blue, now caught the orange-yellow fire of the setting sun. He sighed. The timing was perfect. He walked a little further to his usual place near the Langlois drawbridge, settling onto the grassy bank facing the structure. Sometimes he'd make preliminary sketches here, studies to grasp the composition before committing to paint directly from life. But today was purely for unwinding. No charcoal, no canvas for hours yet. He found his familiar patch of cushioned earth and sat, drawing his knees to his chest, arms wrapped around them. His straw hat rested beside him. A faint smile touched his lips. Peace resided here, by the Rhone. The river's ceaseless flow smoothed the tension from his shoulders, clearing his mind. For a while, thought ceased entirely. He simply gazed, absorbing the landscape, thick bushes leaning towards the cool water, Birds calling softly in the twilight. The river's surface burnished orange by the sun. Red brick walls, streaked with white, anchored the dark brown drawbridge, its lifting chains a rusty maroon. Cyprian admired the bridge, simple, yet perfectly attuned to its environment, standing sentinel over the sun-dappled water. The colors existed in such harmony. This river had flowed long before his arrival, would flow long after his departure. Its eternal movement captivated him, mirroring the permanence he craved for his art. Perhaps someday, someone would view his painting of this scene, and this very river, unchanged, would still be flowing. He sat, lost in this contemplation. The Rhone held him utterly spellbound. His breathing seemed to synchronize with the river's current, his chest rising and falling rhythmically, like the water eddying over submerged stones. The grass was soft beneath him. A light breeze ruffled his red hair. Closing his eyes momentarily, he felt the cool air on his eyelids, a welcome sensation. He began to paint the scene internally, reconstructing it in his unique vision. He pictured his brush, its handle multicolored from years of use, poised above a blank canvas. The bridge first, precise, careful lines defining its structure. Nut-brown columns formed in his mind, followed by burnt sienna strokes for the thin chain links. Brick by brick, red and white, his imagined strokes grew freer. He favored a bold style, thin marks laid close, creating an image that vibrated with latent movement. Next, the river. Cobalt blue swirled with white, stroke after stroke materializing in his thoughts, the paint moving with the water's own fluidity, gliding across the imagined canvas. Then the vegetation, jade, emerald, moss green, applied with circular motions here, rapid dashes there. Brown mixed with green, a scattering of tall ochre reeds. A smile bloomed within him. The mere mental act of painting was pure joy. After some moments, he opened his eyes. A darkness had deepened. The sun had slipped below the horizon. He could linger, watch evening dissolve fully into night, but the thought of a warm drink, perhaps something to eat, surfaced. His favorite cafe called. He appreciated its coffee and its position on the street, offering the choice of mingling or solitude. Taking a final look around, he stood, replaced his hat, and turned back towards the town, resolving to return soon. The cafe occupied a narrow lane. Patrons could choose their vantage point. The bustling room housing the billiard table, alive with the clatter of games, the terrace, perfect for nocturnal stargazing, or the charming tables and chairs set just outside, spilling onto the lane, ideal for observing passers-by. Tonight, Cyprian selected an outdoor table and ordered coffee. While waiting, he studied the cobblestones, noting their similarity to those near his yellow house. The cafe itself glowed yellow. Under the gas lamps, it seemed almost animate, possessing movement and depth. The lamplight reflected on the wet-look cobblestones, transforming their gray into a rich, unexpected purple. Houses lined the street, most fronted by trees. His seat afforded a perfect view of this arrangement, and above it, the night sky. where stars now pricked the deepening blue, emerging one by one. Sipping his warm coffee, he contrasted this scene with the riverside tranquility. This was ordinary life, a cafe, a street, houses. Yet in Cyprian's mind, yellows, purples, grays, browns, and blues were already swirling, coalescing, fixing this view in place. The yellow lamplight flared in his blue-green eyes. An observer might have seen a man in a trance, but within Cyprian's thoughts, a blank canvas was undergoing a wondrous transformation. The stars above shimmered with lemony light, impossibly magical. He finished his coffee, left the cafe, and headed towards the wheat fields bordering the town. An old mill stood just beyond them, a structure he found deeply compelling. He favored the fields at night. The view of the heavens was unobstructed there, vast and open. It offered space to lie back and lose himself in the stars for as long as he wished. He loved the stark contrast, the warm, golden delicacy of the fields, all yellows and browns, against the dark, enigmatic expanse above, draped in cool blues and blacks. His path took him past a field of irises, row upon row of lovely blue blooms punctuating the landscape. He'd painted them recently, pleased with how their movement, captured on canvas, echoed their swaying in the evening breeze. He found them charmingly wild, demanding broad, confident strokes. Further on stood a cluster of almond trees, another recent subject, now in blossom. Their thick, charcoal-dark bark, strong and rough, provided a stunning contrast to the delicate pink and white flowers crowning their branches. They reminded him of cherry blossoms, stirring a fleeting wish to be in Japan, studying them firsthand. Painting these trees required unusual care, a respect for each petal, each unique form, an individuality he felt proud to have conveyed in his art. Shortly after the almond trees, he reached the wheat field. He paused, watching the airy stalks sway, catching the faint moonlight, which lent them an ethereal luminescence. The grassy border looked inviting. Selecting a spot, he lay down in the cool grass, placing his hat on his chest. In the distance, the old mill creaked intermittently in the breeze. Crickets chirped nearby. These were the sights, the sounds he had sought when leaving Paris. On nights like this, gratitude washed over him. Cyprian closed his eyes, letting the sounds saturate his senses. The rustle of wheat mimicked the distant rush of a river. He longed in moments like these not just to paint what he saw, but to capture the entire experience, the sounds, the feel of the air, the scent of the earth. He opened his eyes again, gazing upward. A crescent moon hung amidst countless glittering stars. This unobstructed celestial view was a primary draw. Just him, the field, the mill, and the immense night sky. He often puzzled over the common notion of painting starry nights as mere white dots on black. Even now, looking up, he perceived a symphony of color. The sky wasn't black, but a profound, deep blue, darker than his ultramarine pigment, yet radiant like the lapis lazuli stone from which it derived. Passing clouds animated the darkness, creating waves of white and gray against the deeper backdrop, like broad strokes on a vast celestial canvas, echoing his own methods. And the stars, they hypnotized him. Not white, but golden, pink, emerald, scarlet, gemstones scattered across dark blue velvet, While the stars felt magical, mysterious, the moon offered familiar comfort, glowing a warm, pale yellow, like an old friend. The desire to paint the night sky, with all the complex emotions it evoked, surfaced often, yet he always found himself lost in the contemplation, postponing the act. One day, he promised himself, perhaps with cypress trees, looming dark against the Rhone, perhaps above these very wheat fields. Lying in bed at night, he would often imagine the process, the colors he would deploy, the techniques needed to render its otherworldly presence as his eyes perceived it. Cyprian blinked, his mind drifting. His eyes mirrored the starry expanse above, light reflected within them, just as the setting sun had shimmered on the river's surface. Images began to swirl, vast blue clouds pushed by an unseen breeze, glowing yellow stars, the eternal river, delicate pink blossoms fluttering, bands of cobalt and ultramarine mingling with white and orange, long strokes of dark green. Drifting toward sleep, he dreamed the painting into existence, the wild, vibrant, starry night that now watched over his slumber.